Yo, what is up guys, it's your boy Shieldcoomer here, and today we're gonna be covering a very cool key. It's Azureblade 20 on a Fortified week together with some of the very spicy affixes, Bolstering, Storming and Thundering, as you can see on the screen. And basically we start off with this very cool pull. You know, there's a lot of ways to do this dungeon that people do nowadays, at least at the time of, you know, making of this video. You know, these metas change quickly as people discover new ways and whatnot. On a bolstering week, I think this is a good way to do it. However, on the non-bolstering weeks, I also would sometimes trigger those shrieks and get those like crystal dudes, so you can skip rings later. I think it might be worth the time. Anyway, we're not really gonna talk too much about routing. Let's just focus on what's happening in the dungeon. I wanna talk about this priest. This new playstyle has been super duper fun, and I love to discuss like how you can optimize your damage, how you can optimize your movement and stuff, and obviously make sure everybody stays alive as well, which is ultimately your job as a healer at the end of the day. I will be discussing the playstyle of this and all these things on the video I release as a you know, sort of like an overview of the current discipline priest since patch 10.0.5. You know, you can call it a guide if you want. It's not really a guide, it's more like a informational video of somebody who plays disc for a couple of seasons now and likes to do keys on, you know, whenever disc is viable. And currently I would say disc is quite viable. We obviously aren't as good as some other healers, but you can definitely push pretty high. I have yet to encounter like scenarios where this might change on tyrannical weeks, by the way, so you know, stay tuned. Right now, as of you know, as the day I'm recording this and uploading this, it is tyrannical week, so maybe my thoughts on this will change entirely with this tyrannical week, but as of now I have not felt like I'm lacking healing. I think the buffs they have given us recently, especially to the flashlight, have been absolutely phenomenal, and they were exactly what we needed. Also here, by the way, like when you dispelled somebody, get out of the circle. I mean, I just made a mistake. I honestly, I wasn't looking like where he is. I just dispelled him and I didn't even notice I was next to him. That's just like some tiny minor mistakes you shouldn't be doing in high and plus, but you know, it happens. You know, what can you do? I mean, nobody's perfect, right? Well, maybe somebody is. I'm certainly not, though. I can tell you that much. I'm certainly not. I definitely have my good days and bad days, you know, good plays and bad plays. That's, I think, the difference between, you know, being like top 0.01 and top 1% is that like consistency. And here, like, you know, I make Hunter run to me, which is also bad. But I actually did that because Tank needed healing. Like, Tank was stressing me out, and I think it turned out that he DC'd or something. I think he'll say it in chat in a moment. I don't know what happened. He just died. It's so weird seeing warriors actually take damage. Like, even on bolstering week, on a lot of keys, they just don't take damage. Like, those guys just do not take damage, and it's so weird when you're playing with a warrior, and all of a sudden you have to heal them. And honestly, Disc Priest, like, we have some decent tank healing, but compared to other healers, it's pretty mediocre, honestly. It's like we can shield them constantly, right? Which is nice. Like, our shields are pretty big, but for tank numbers, they're not that amazing. You obviously have penance, but I think most of the time you want to be using penance on, like, as a DPS tool and healing through atonement rather than actually hard healing someone. I really avoid doing that with this new playstyle. You obviously will do it if need be, and like DPSs rarely need penance. It's too big of a heal for most DPS HP pools. But it is perfectly fine to do it on tank. I sometimes also let tanks drop intentionally just so I can use a power word life on them. Not really sure how recommended that is. That's just kind of something I've gotten into a habit of doing, and it's definitely like a gamble. Like, I do it so I get like 10-second cooldown so I can do it again, but sometimes it backfires and they just die. So that's probably, you know, probably do it only if you know exactly what the damage profile they're taking is. You know, don't do it if they're like, it is multiple bursts of damages and stuff. I mean, you obviously don't want to be doing that, but if you know that it's like a steady ticking damage or something, then you can let them drop a little bit and pop that power word life on them to get that extra value out of it and also make it shorter CD. I like to think of it as a sort of like a Guardian Spirit that's just not as good. It's like really bad compared to it, but it's same principle. It's like you... Well, actually, it's not. Nah, it's not. Forget what I said. It's not. It's completely opposite, actually. With Guardian Spirit, you want to use it where ideally it doesn't get consumed. Whereas for this, you actually want it to get consumed so you get a CD back. So, okay, scratch that. Never mind. Anyway, let's talk about the boss. So, the big instance of damage here is consuming Stomp. When he does that, you need to be covering people with shields. And also the explosion, where he puts circles on everybody, which is, I think, called Explosive Brand, but don't quote me on that one. Yeah, it's Explosive Brand. I see it on Big Wigs. Yeah. So, basically, the way this boss works is you need to clear these crystals. When he does a consuming stomp, he will consume all the crystals and deal damage equal to the amount of crystals there are. On higher keys, if there is a single crystal left, people are in danger of getting one-shot. If you go high enough, you can get one-shot even without crystals left. So, as discs, we're perfect for this. The damage prevention is our specialty. Utilize your pain suppression, utilize your rupture, utilize your power word barrier. You also yourself have fade and power and desperate prayer, and you have 2 pain subs. So, you know, don't be afraid to throw one of them on you, one of them on, like, I don't know, Hunter or something squishy. If they don't have Turtle, that's something to keep in mind. And also at the same time, you gotta trust your teammates that they're gonna react properly as well, that they're gonna be popping their defenses, that they're gonna be using their health pots, and that they're gonna be, you know, in a good position to not get one shot by these abilities. You know, I always say this, like, going high into the keys, most of the time if somebody gets one shot, it's not your fault. But as a disc, you actually have the power to prevent this. You're like a rare healer that has the power to prevent somebody from getting one shot, so, you know, use it. Use it, it helps. By the way, interesting fact about this dungeon, I have done it like 5 times this week, and every single time I have been over time by like 1 minute. And I thought about uploading it multiple times, but I was stubborn. I was like, nah, I'll get it. I want to finish it, you know. I wanted that portal. And I'm glad that I finally got it. It was like one of the last keys of the day, of the reset day, so it's good. It's good that we got it done. Happy to upload this video. I'll try to get this week. I'll try to get all Tyrannicals done, guys, and upload them as soon as possible, so you guys can see how this works on Tyrannical as well. Tyrannical, I think, is a little bit harder on healers in general. At least I think so. I've heard a lot of healers complain about Fortified, and they say Tyrannical is easier. I personally find Tyrannical much harder to heal. You gotta be like really perfect with your cooldown usage and stuff. In general. But yeah, as you can see here, guys, you know, tracking people's CDs, utilizing your power infusion properly, and look at how much damage this hunter is doing with his cooldown and power infusion. He just pretty much carries this pack. So I could have used it earlier. I don't know if you guys noticed, but it was off CD, but I saved it for this because I knew that people usually do double pull here, and it's just like these little things where you have to kind of be aware of this and get some experience in dungeons and stuff. Unfortunately, there are no shortcuts here. You can obviously watch videos, you can watch guides, you can read about it, but I think experiencing it firsthand is the best way to get better at it. Also, for those that are curious about my spell casting and stuff, you can check in the weak auras that I have in the middle of the screen. On the right side, on the top, there is a tracker for Twilight Equilibrium. You can track there like how good or bad I am with, you know, utilizing my spells. I'm pretty sure that about the current playstyle, you could make like a 200-line priority book about it and stuff. I will tell you this much though. I will tell you something, guys. Of course, as a healer, any healer, including the simple ones, you know, even when like Holy Priest, like that has like 2 buttons to press offensively, even they have a priority list. So I will say this: every healer has a priority list that they can cast. But where it becomes different from DPSs is, as a DPS, you mostly have a fixed rotation. You know your optimal rotation where you consume your resources and stuff, and the only time this deviates is if you have to use some big defensives that prevent you from attacking, or if you have to interrupt or something like that. But even interrupt, I mean, rarely disrupts your rotation that badly that it changes it. For healers, it's different though. Healers, I cannot write a guidebook about like you know, press this, and if you do that, you won. There is no such a thing. You have to react, unfortunately. We are react Andes. As healers, we are reactors. We need to pay attention to what's happening at all times. You need to be very aware of dispels. You need to be very aware of what your tank is doing. As you can see here, you need to like track my power suppression, pain suppression, sorry. The usage of it and stuff, and look how I'm dropping it. I'm gonna drop it here on the tank, I think, soon. I used it earlier already, and twice even. And it's as I said, right now power word shield doesn't hold too much. It does hold value. I don't want to say it doesn't hold value. That's ridiculous. It's our like best healing spell basically, but it's not as high priority as it was, simply because we're going full right side with this AoE build. Now, this might change on tyrannical weeks, because you might want to grab like the more healing path and less AoE, which means you don't go fully into the right side. You dip into it, then you go back to the left side to pick up some of those like nice boosts for your penances and for your shields. So stay tuned. I will talk about this. I will make a video about this. I will show you guys how I do it, and then you can maybe, you know, tell me what you think, see for yourself whether you like it or not, try it out, and see if it works for you. But these packs are very dangerous basically. These packs really hurt, and the reason they hurt for the most part, not these in particular, although these ones are pretty bad as well, but those ones previously where I was talking about pain suppression and stuff, those guys cast like a frontal, and tank unfortunately, as far as I know, does not have a way to dodge them, because they follow him. So if he would like try to dodge them, he would just like change the direction quickly and risk one-shotting the raid, because they do one-shot on key like of this level. Every DPS I think is one-shot by them. One thing you can do as priest is you can purge. They get a buff, and this is why Plater is such an important add-on. It doesn't have to be Plater, guys. This is not a, you know, a hashtag ad for Plater, but I do recommend Plater. Plater is great. It's just Plater is great by default. But if you know how to customize it, you can make it do whatever you want. This is what makes it so good. But there are some other add-ons out there as well that I have used in the past, or I have seen other people use, that are almost just as good as Plater, maybe even better in some aspects. Some are better out the gate, you know. They're more like how do I put it? More catered to M+ content and stuff. Plater is just amazing though. I recommend getting it if you don't have any nameplate add-on. Right now I don't know how to remove this health bar. I never really like looked into it properly. I think there's like some script you need to run, or they added the setting back or something. But Blizzard basically changed something, and now you see HP again, which is ridiculous. So I want to remove that as soon as possible. Honestly, it's kind of grown on me a little bit. Like, it helps me see where people are, to be honest. But it's better to just have names. I don't know. This is kind of cringe. This makes me feel like I'm back in like Classic, you know, or something. It's so weird. I haven't played Classic. I just like to say nostalgic things to seem, you know, relatable. But I'm joking. But yeah, this pull a little bit risky, and this was a big mistake, by the way, guys. I should not have done that. That was really stupid of me, wasting mass dispel there, as he was casting icy bindings. If IC Binding hits you, everybody gets rooted, and then everybody gets clapped by these bombs, and you need to be wary of this. So as a priest, you want to have that quick mass dispel talent for this dungeon. I haven't talked about it much, but the reason you want to have quick mass dispel for this one in particular is exactly this scenario, and there's also on start to dispel those dots that those trees cast. So yeah, these are two very good reasons, in my opinion, to play that talent, and you should go for it. This guy hits hard. Also here you can purge. The reason I messed the spell there, by the way, was because there was like three buffs on them, and I was like, I didn't want to like purge 3-4 times, so I was like, I'll just mess the spell. And then I remembered icy bindings, and I was like, oh shit. But we managed to save it. Yeah. Luckily, this team was pretty good at purging. Usually I have to purge all of these, and it's really annoying. But honestly, I was kind of lazy with purging this time because they had it covered so well. I'm not really sure who even was purging. I believe it's Hunter, but Mage can also spell steal. I'm not sure if Monk has Purge. I'm actually not the most familiar with Monk's toolkit. I know Monks have some cool dispels, but I'm not sure if they have Purge as well. Offensive one. And here you can see, that was a great mass dispel. Yeah. They let Icy Bindings go through. We mass dispel it. Easy peasy. It's like they do nothing, right? It's so good. But yeah. See, now I purge. Wow, I'm useful. Look at me, chat. I'm useful. Okay, I just called you guys on YouTube chat. Yeah, I've been streaming way too much lately. Yikes. But yeah, basically, these guys are pretty chill. Do watch the tank though. These Vault Guards, they have this Ice Breaker, Ice Cleave, Ice... It's called something. I will see now when he casts it. But they can yeah, Ice Cutter. Yeah. That shreks tanks. Okay, and this is Prot War. If you're playing with like a monk or druid or something, God help you healing tanks on these packs. This is, I've done one key with the Guardian Druid. That was, sorry druids out there. Listen, I love you guys. I love druids, especially because of inner weight and a buff and combat res, which we lack all of those. But I hate Guardian Druids right now. They're so bad to heal, dude. They're so squishy, man. I don't know what Blizzard is thinking with their toolkit. Like they don't even feel like tanks. They're so squish. But yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. But yeah, we're not here to talk about that. This boss, guys. Oof, I don't know. This boss is kind of tricky. Again, you have to watch tanks. You have to watch balls. You have to like DPS this guy. And now let's see how I'll do this. Basically, it's kind of hard to get radiances off here, and here I was kind of like, I don't know what I was doing, honestly. I just kind of like chilled. I think I was trying to cast radiance, but I didn't have a charge, and that kind of like bricked my brain for a bit. I was like, oh, okay. You know, I was like thinking, and you know, thinking in video games is bad, as much as as weird as that sounds. You know, most of these things need to be like pre-planned, and it needs to be like a muscle memory. If you have to sit and think in the middle of the boss fight, then you're probably in trouble. You know, there's no like time for like philosophical thinking. You gotta be, you know, on top of your buttons. But yeah, that was okay. You know, it wasn't amazing. It wasn't bad either. So yeah. Throw some penances, you know, deal damage. Honestly, on Fortified weeks, this boss is not super scary, but you do have to do some very intense healing in that phase. As you can see, like I'm doing 30k HPS, but most of that is coming from the burst phase. It's coming from the burst phase where we're probably doing, I would say, like about 50k or some 60k maybe, and then we drop back to like 10k outside of it, and that evens out at around 30, right? If my math is correct. But yeah, it's just something you want to be kind of like, you know, aware of. And here we try to kind of, you can do this like quote unquote cheese. This isn't really cheese, it's just being smart. Because he has to walk back to the middle to do overwhelming energy, and we almost had a chance to kill him, but we didn't, so yeah, we popped the Rupture there. I also have Empiric Embrace available. I've used the Barrier for them. Barrier is kind of tricky here if they're not stacked, but you can communicate with your team to stack if you're playing on a pre-made. Once again, as I always say, like pre-mades are much easier than this. And we still have Shadow Word Covenant. I'm kind of saving it as a last resort because it does instant heal everyone, and you know, it's pretty convenient. But It's also very mana consuming, so I sometimes oversave it. I think I should have popped it there just to be safe. You know, if it was tyrannical, this would not be enough, but since it's fortified, it was pretty chill. And look at my damage, guys. Like, I did more damage than a tank, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool, right? That's a rare scenario, so that's pretty cool. I like that. This has pretty high damage right now. As I always say, like, I'm not really sure exactly how we compare to other healers. I have watched some guys. I've watched Yumi play Evoker, and from what I've seen, they do around 20k overall. That's obviously also because he's pushing much higher keys than I am, so he needs to do more healing, which just kind of makes sense. That was amazing turtle by Hunter earlier, by the way. This Hunters was really good. Dude, Hunters are bad like 99% of the time, but when they're good, they're gods. They're so good when they're good. Like, good Hunters are so fucking strong. It's insane. And here I'm just kind of trying to stack them up so I can root them. Watch this now. Watch this. Look at the root. It didn't catch everyone though. Actually, it caught nothing basically. Yeah, it almost caught nothing. But guys, our new root, what it's called, void tendrils or something, dark tendrils, dark tentacles, something like that. It's so good. It's so, dude, on these frogs, it actually hard carries. Like, it just roots somebody for like so long, and from what I've seen, it cannot be broken almost. Like, right? It's basically like a new binding shot or something. Like, it's pretty insane. It's crazy how good it is. I have to look into a little bit more like exactly how it works, because so far I've been mostly focusing on kind of like maximizing my damage, because you guys have to understand this new rotation with Dark Disc is pretty intense. Like, I would say this is not for everyone, honestly. I don't mean like this, like, I don't mean to be like offensive or anything, but I think that like having to think throughout the entire dungeon, like, of how you're casting your spells and making sure every spell is like shadow holy. I think that just might be too much for like your average player. I think, I don't know, maybe average player is better than I think they are, but from what I've seen so far, I would say that's kind of like maybe too intense for a lot of people. But you know, that just kind of boils down to, you know, I mean, obviously everybody has to learn. And by the way, that was a great barrier. That was a life-saving barrier there. That was really good, because I saw the guy that does the AoE. He had like bolstering charges, so I was like, okay, we're dead. And then I remembered, wait, I'm a discipline priest. I can handle this. Yeah, barrier is such a strong spell. You need, you know, I personally have to get better at using it. But obviously, if you see yourself like being shy with using it and stuff, barrier gains a lot of value when people are stacked, and barrier gains a lot of value when there's like incoming high bursty damage or damage over time that happens like approximately as of duration of the barrier. Like, where barrier was really cool, for example, if you remember, let's say like Plaguefall. Yeah, Plaguefall last boss, when everybody's stacking, when he's doing the acid rain, and you just pop barrier and like it saves lives, man. It's crazy how good it is. And also on top of that, oh, by the way, watch this. We're gonna do a very interesting skip here. But yeah, on top of that, not yet. Sorry, it's next after this room. On top of that, where barrier is also good, for example, raging masks in the other side. I talked about this on the previous dungeon as well. Like, whenever you have bursts of damage that happen almost instantly, or that tick so fast that you cannot possibly heal them through atonements. This has no AoE healing outside of atonements. We do not heal people. I separate Disc in like two different variants. You have two variants. You have a variant where you're keeping atonements up on people, and you're dealing damage, and maybe occasionally healing tank a little bit, or like healing somebody that's gotten a mechanic on them. Good example of this is Nokun Offensive. When somebody's you know, bled up, like, you're not just gonna heal them through atonements for the most part. I mean, you might. Listen, you might. But for the most part, I don't think that's like very viable, especially if they get more than one and you don't have D-bleed as a disc priest, so you have to actually just hard heal them, which sucks, but it is what it is. You can pain sub though, that's nice. I remember using pain sub in Nokund on bleeding people, and it worked out pretty well. But basically what I'm trying to say is, we do not have healing, we have two phases. We have this damage dealing phase where we heal through atonements, and most of the time that's enough, but sometimes it isn't. And part of pushing as disc and getting better as a discipline priest is realizing when your atonements are not enough and you have to go full healer mode. And you never want to go full healer mode as a discipline priest, but sometimes you simply have no choice. And when there are times when, you know, just atonements are not enough, and during those times, luckily Blizzard has realized that we are very lackluster, so they have buffed a couple of our spells, such as flashlight, flashlight. Yeah, it's called flashlight. Wait, that's kind of sexual. Wow. But yeah, that's one of them. That's pretty good. Radiance also heals quite a bit. We have Vampiric Embrace as well, but as I said, like, that's not, you know, Vampiric Embrace is more again for that damage dealing phase. It's not for a hard healing. It's more like to help you while you're DPSing, and it just kind of like helps sustain people. But yeah, that was an interesting skip. I didn't know about this skip, by the way. Like, you can just move them, not get into combat, and people take the book. I mean, shout out to this tank, honestly. He might have saved this skip because we were quite tight on time. And without that skip, obviously we would have saved time elsewhere because we wouldn't be doing like extra 5%, right? But this was, I think, not doing these two guys actually saves a lot of time. They're very slow to do and they're very annoying and stuff. See, this is a perfect example of where you can use barrier. I mean, it's not the greatest, but it helps, you know. It makes you heal less after the damage is done and stuff. And then just throw like a little radiance as a heal while everybody has atonement, deal some damage, then you heal everybody up. And here another radiance. I should have probably radienced before I cast that penance, but I was, you know, I know this boss fight pretty well by this point, and like, there's so little damage going on here for the most part that it doesn't really matter. Like, it's not that big of a deal, at least on Fortified. On Tyrannical might be a different story, but on Fortified this boss is pretty chill. You do need to heal a lot though. I mean, oh my god, I'm doing 40k HPS. Okay, that's actually quite a lot. That's more than most bosses, honestly. But still, like, it's really not that crazy, this boss fight. It's pretty chill regarding you know, the factor that there's just like ongoing consistent light damage. There isn't like, you know, like boom damage and then ticking damage, which we really, you know, like. We like this slowly ticking damage way more than we do like, you know, bursty damage that's followed up by like more AoE. That is always scary as a disc priest, you know, because one, you can handle, especially because you have pain sub and power word life now and stuff like that, and shield. But if it's on multiple targets, it's really hard to like survive the burst damages when disc is your healer. But I think most healers struggle with this. I think like the only healer that doesn't is probably like Druid, that can like sustain it with CDs, or Resta Shaman. I think, don't quote me on this though. But yeah. Alright, Dragon time. I mean, this boss, as you will see, I'll tell you, like, as a priest, all you need to do here is deal damage. Nobody should need almost any healing, for the most part, except tank. And also, I will also say one more thing. Bait the bombs. Bait the bombs. So usually bombs, for some reason, they're made to target either tanks or healer. And it's really tricky if they're targeting tank. That is not a good look for your group. If they're going on tank, it usually ends up in a disaster. So be wary how you position, and if you see the bombs are chasing you, take them away from group, and, you know, while you're kiting, try to DPS as much as you can, but obviously prioritize not getting hit by balls. That should always be your priority. And here you can see tank is even out of my range. Like, I'm not even healing the tank, but he's a warrior. He's not taking any damage. And these guys are not balanced, but it's fun. Like, as you can see here now, bombs, you know, slowly, like you can see them spinning towards us, and you know, here I'm recognizing they're going on me. Luckily they stopped at like a really good time, very convenient, and then they're going again. This padding is a bit confusing. I actually have no idea what they're doing right now. Usually they're way more like direct and assertive at who they're following, but yeah, I think they're going for the tank now. So as I said, like sometimes they'll go on tank, sometimes they'll go on a healer. It's pretty sucky. And depending on who they go to, you wanna be using like your dispel and stuff. Of course, not like now we have monks, so you can also use like tiger's lust and stuff. But these are things you kind of have to coordinate, or just have to trust like your teammates that they know what you know, their utility and what they're doing and stuff. But as you can see here, like I tried to drag them away, but they're just not following me. They're going on tank, so I'm keeping him up. I'm healing him, and I'm dispelling him. So he can dodge the bombs, right? Because that's my, you know, one way you can. The only way we fail this key by this point is if we wipe here, and best way to wipe is your tank dies. Honestly, healer is expendable in this fight for the most part, so keep that tank up. You know, tank is priority, and your DPS. They're way more important. And here a very tricky crystalline roar. And here I think the balls are also changing the target, but no, they're going back. They're just chasing, but we're about to finish the boss, so we're chilling. Anyway, guys, I want to say thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Tell me what you think about these videos. Tell me what you think about the keys. I'll be making more. I will be uploading a guide soon, quote-unquote guide. You know, more like a information video about Disc Priest and my thoughts so far on the expansion. Much love, guys. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. You know, if you like the content, make sure to like. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. And good luck in your vaults. Good luck in your keys. And I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.